Internets! Hello, you lovelies, and welcome to episode 5 of The Acolyte, the big one. Disney Plus tends to make their episodes 5 pretty big, and this was no exception. Going to be diving right in, but you might notice I'm in a different setting. This might look familiar if you watch The Real Rejects. Yes, I'm in the Real Rejects studio, because depending on when you're watching this, in a couple hours or a couple hours ago, I did a full reaction over there, but I'm going to still be growing this here, because I want to keep growing this channel. Speaking of growing this channel, please do like if you enjoyed my review of this. So far, the community has been amazing welcoming me in. I've been trying to give very unbiased perspectives on the things I do and don't like about this. Please keep that up in the comments. And speaking of comments, let me know what you thought of this episode 5. Was it worthwhile to the build-up? And most of all, please do hit that subscription bell. We are past 26K, trying to grow this to 32K by Deadpool Day. So I'm hoping to grow this to more than my Twitter following by Deadpool Day, because I want to be on Twitter less and I want to be here more. So please do subscribe, passing 26K. Without further ado, let's talk about The Acolyte episode 5. That was certainly my favorite episode, but is that enough? I personally found the action very fun. I found the action to be what I love about Star Wars, but I generally am more invested in the characters, so therefore the action didn't quite land as much for me emotionally, visually, and as far as adrenaline and feeling excited and appreciating the choreography and the wire work and all those dynamics. Yes, the sound of a lightsaber is enough to get me excited. The visuals of lightsabers, a gaggle of them all fighting, is obviously going to be amazing. But my issue is when you don't care about the people enough, it kind of diminishes the excitement for me, because I know what it can be like to be emotionally invested as well as appreciating the novelty of these things. And this episode felt like it was leaning pretty heavily into you should already care enough about them that you're impacted. Now, this is a full spoiler conversation, so if you haven't seen the episode, boogie and come back. But every single death would have felt more impactful if I'd known or cared about any of these Jedi. I definitely expected the moment we saw the army, not the army, the squad of Jedi, the 8 or 9 Jedi that we had, that only the ones we'd already met would make it halfway through the episode. And that's exactly what happened. They were cannon fodder. Imagine if we'd actually felt anything for them. Imagine if we'd actually known any of those Jedi, how much more impactful it would be. And then by the time we lost Dafne Keen's character, I had met her some, I had invested some, but it wasn't really enough. The death followed by his reveal should have been 2 huge moments. Instead, it was 2 kind of expected moments. When she gave that speech in the last episode, confessing her love, I was like, well, she's not going to make it the rest of the season. And then when they revealed it was the dude from The Good Place, it also felt like the most common theory. It was kind of the opposite of Luke, I am your father. It was like, well, that makes sense. There's our first Sith. And I really wanted the impact of a death of that scope to feel more, not just from the action standpoint. She fought well, she had badass moments, but when you have a movie that sells a death in action and then emotion, you get distracted by how much you care about the character, that you don't plug in those moments of like, oh man, they're doing that cool thing where they're building up how awesome this character is, so I'm extra invested before they die. Instead, I was very aware that the action was cool, and then when they died, I wanted to know them more. And especially at the end of the episode, being all about Mae and her relationship with the Sith, and then Osha and her relationship with the Jedi, I didn't feel like she knew those Jedi. When there was all that talk of like, they're like family, I love them, I had not seen any of that love. And so I just feel like for a show that has 8 episodes, I thought it was 6. Last week I said we were going into the 3rd act. For a show that has 8 episodes, I don't think there should be any reason we're not more invested in more people. I care about Soul. We really care about certain people, but I was only worried for Soul out of this entire group of people. I assumed that the Sith lived because, they didn't show his death, so therefore I didn't think he got taken out by mods. But every moment felt like it was serving a soap opera narrative and to elongate things as opposed to filling time with characters that I care about's impactful moments. So, like when she got knocked out for no reason, seemingly whatsoever, like the thing she survived and was able to withstand, and then all of a sudden, I guess it was the straw that broke the camel's back. I guess that was the last thing she could withstand. You never could block a reference to their childhood. The force push, the little like invisible Kamehameha wave, that little thing they did, knocking her out, and the very obvious, well, we're going to switch. Also, the fact that she did a haircut with her lightsaber, and then the haircut was perfect. They could have at least had it messy. I don't know. There were things that even visual storytelling felt like, okay, we've accepted that this is going to be soapy, and I just wish we cared enough about them that the soap opera moments were as impactful as they need to be for the action to have weight. I've said, if you watch me on any channel, I've said that a punch should land twice. The reason Daredevil is so good is because they make us care about Kingpin. And therefore, when Daredevil's fighting him and he's on the right side of things and he's doing the right thing, you understand where Kingpin's coming from. It is his Hell's Kitchen he thinks he's defending, so the punches land twice. When you watch The Boys, you care about Homelander against all odds. He is such a repulsive concept. He is such a evil character, but you care because you are invested in the character. It felt obvious who our first Sith was, and then when the characters died that we are only so invested in, it didn't have the weight it should have, and then to especially eliminate the weight in the Sith having this power to fight, one Sith against all these Jedi, visually, awesome. Choreography, awesome. Fighting, yes, but we didn't care about any of the Jedi, so they were just cannon fodder. So I will always appreciate a really cool fight. I will always appreciate the stunt people that worked on it. I'll always appreciate the director and the visual element of filmmaking. I am so appreciative to see some of these things as someone who thinks lightsabers are cool since childhood. To see a force pull into a lightsaber, awesome. That was a badass moment. Now imagine if that badass moment was about two characters you cared about. I feel like the show has undermined a lot of characters by having the opening be in the present, doing a flashback. We didn't really get to care about Carrie-Anne Moss except for our association to her roles in other movies. We cared about Carrie-Anne Moss, not about the Jedi she was playing. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening with all these characters. We're caring about the Jedi because they're Jedi. It's a show that's telling us to feel things, not putting us in positions to want to feel things. I want to feel towards these characters, and so far it hasn't given me the opportunity to, except for when it's like, you should care. And I want to care. And I really think the actors are doing what they can with the dialogue they're given. I do not think they're doing, Amanda Stenberg any favors with some of the dialogue opposite herself that feels very, this is impactful and choices like building up for 5 episodes and then having their reconnection cut away by a cutaway. They literally haven't seen each other. One gets stunned, more fighting, and then they finally have their, we're going to walk, and then they just cut to an establishing shot. Why was there a shot of okay, we got to make it a prettier setting for them to meet in the middle of, they're in the same place, they're walking, and then they cut away, and then they cut back, and they're still walking. What was that choice? If you ruin pacing and timing and cut away, it eliminates tension, and the tension had been building for 5 episodes. It's just, there's so many examples of moments that I wanted to have more weight, because I want to like this show. And I've said every episode that people that are getting what they want out of the show, I'm so much happier for. I'm very happy for anyone that's getting what they want out of I think it's called the High Republic stuff. People that are getting what they want out of seeing the Jedi in their prime. People getting what they want out of these new characters. I'm so happy for them as a casual Star Wars fan, as a lover of the original trilogy and Last Jedi and Andor. I wanted to know what it felt like to care about this old stuff, like the older trilogy, old in canon chronology. I wanted to know what it felt like to care. And so far, I feel like so much important stuff is happening off camera, like the Wookiee Jedi dying off camera. I wanted to care about them, and I feel like that's happening with the Jedi. I feel like the implication of the Sith, I want to feel more I don't know. I want to be more invested. And this was, again, my favorite episode so far, but I want the emotion to be as exciting as the visuals, and I want the connection to the characters to be more than one character. So far, I'm very invested in Soul. I want to know what his darkness is. I want to know what his secrets are. I want to be as invested in our leads, Mae and Osha, as I am in Soul, but so far, we're 5 out of 8 episodes. I don't know. Is it going to be too little too late by the time we get there? And I also worry that, this episode was so action-packed. What do they do for episode 6 to retroactively make me care about the Jedi that died? We will see next week. I think Pip's going to be fine. I was worried for a little dude. I think Pip's going to be just fine. And I do want to say I'm very impressed at the actor from The Good Place, crushing it with the dialogue. In The Mask, I was intimidated. His choreography was great. His arms looked good. He's been hitting the gym, and I respect Gaines. He looked so menacing and awesome. I love the character design of that Sith. I really think that's my favorite thing about this episode is the design work, the physicality. Even on mute, that character moving would have felt menacing. And then the voice and the staccato, the way he was delivering those lines, absolutely fantastic. I felt the tension between head and soul. I do want to give credit to the good there. That was impressive. And the choreography that Amanda Stenberg was able to do ×2. All of the fights were very cool. I just wanted to care more. That is going to do it for this episode 5. first thoughts out of the gate. Check out if this is dropping before or after Real Rejects for my watching it alongside Greg reaction and my thoughts after that episode. But you guys wanted to keep growing this here, so please do subscribe if you want to see more of this show's reviews and thoughts, but also movie news and reviews and comic book movie news and reviews. If you're into the geek fandom, I do stuff every single week about comic books, and I review the big movies coming out as well as some other stuff. So please do subscribe. We're trying to hit 32K by Deadpool Day. I'm going to be doing a ton of Deadpool coverage. I'm talking like movies to watch first, comics to read first, all sorts of stuff with like Ryan Reynolds movies, Hugh Jackman movies, Sean Levy, plus like lots and lots of Deadpool comics, Wolverine comics. It's going to be crazy in July. So please tune in, please hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what you thought of your emotional connection to these characters. Did it work for you? Were you invested enough just by the nature of the show so far? Easily my favorite episode. I put it like a 7 out of 10, and I'm hoping the rest keeps leveling up. All right, much love. Hit that subscription bell. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll see you next week here, and I'll see you tomorrow for This Week in Comics for the week of June 19th. Appreciate it, guys.